Us again. I want to reiterate that what we're doing is to try and figure out what this Elohim is, because it really is the key, how it judges, the standard that it uses to judge its creation, and also how does this relate to what Jim and I are starting to do with these videos, which is to try and figure out what does being human mean. We have a biblical thing, we have something from the Declaration of Independence, and we also have the scientific root. So right now we're taking the biblical approach.
Yeah, and since we're created in the image of Elohim, we'd like to know some things about Elohim, because that tells us kind of what we are, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so the way we do that is to see what Elohim does, this mysterious thing called an Elohim does in the story. And
the one thing it definitely does, it has a lot to do with life.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? Everything that it's tied to is it's creating life or making life possible. So,
and we're going to see that over and over. But the first thing we learn in the whole text is the Elohim creates.
Right.
So what is the Hebrew word for create?
It's the Hebrew word bara, which it has a number of different meanings, which kind of relate to this. Right?
Yeah, and the key thing is, though, that create means to take something that exists and change it into something else.
Or change its shape. Right?
Change its shape. Like the three things that that exist at this moment, according to the story. We have the Ruach Elohim, we have the darkness, and we have a deep body of water. And so, what will Elohim change first? Which one of those three things? Well, we know that he's hovering, she's hovering.
It's hovering.
No, it's in Hebrew. She's hovering over the surface of this deep body of water. Right? But she's hovering over this deep body of water in absolute darkness.
Right.
Now, it doesn't take, a rocket science just to figure out that you might want to change the darkness first, right? It's kind of hard to do much creating if you can't see anything.
Judaism is a tradition that takes into account a lot, to distinguish one thing from another thing. It's hard to distinguish anything in total and complete darkness. And when I talk about this, I'm talking about the darkness before the Big Bang, not the show. Right? So in order to make any kind of choice about this, you have to do it with some kind of illumination.
And that could be physical, it could be mental.
Right.
Either one, but you have to make distinctions. And to make distinctions, you need light.
Mm-hmm.
So is that what he created first?
Vayhi or.
And what does that mean?
Light exists.
Light exists.
We don't know what kind of light, because if you know anything about the story, sun, the moon, and the stars is what we use to count our seasons. It's not created until this fourth day. We don't even know what a day is for this. So,
but we're learning.
Yeah,
we know
light.
We know that now we have light added to this thing, but he had to change the darkness,
right,
affect the shape of the darkness to get the light. And the first thing that happened after the light comes on is, I want you to read it to us, the next verse.
Right. Okay. It says, Vayomer Elohim Yehi Or, Vayihi Or. Light exists, and there was light. Vayar Elohim et haor, that Elohim looked at this light or saw it. Ki tov, it was good. Vayavdel Elohim ben haor uven hachosha. So now there you got this first distinction between or, which is light, and choshach, which is darkness. Right? So now there is the first distinction that is set up.
And what does he do next?
Looks for demons. I don't know. Vayikra Elohim la'or yom,
Yeah.
la'choshech kara laila, vayihi erev vayihi boker yom echad. So Elohim calls the light day.
He named the light.
Right.
It literally says, call to the light, and that means name the light.
And kara laila, and he called to the darkness, and he called it evening.
And so the first thing in making distinctions, after a physical recognition of the distinctions, is to name them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because once you name those things, then you can set them apart from everything else and make them stand out.
They exist.
And a whole lot of ideals connected with those things are attached to those names. For instance, liberals, conservatives, Republicans, Democrats, Christians, Jews, Muslims.
Us and them.
That's what it all breaks down to. Now we know, though, that the first thing that the Elohim wanted to exist was light. And so in our understanding of what we are and as being in the image of an Elohim, light's going to play a big, important part of understanding that. So for now, we're going to sign off, and we'll be back in a minute.